the owner of this stunning RS200, has told me that I'm allowed to have a sit in the driver's seat. Unfortunately, I don't fit, which is a bit of a snag. But if you told the 16-year-old me that years later, at the age of 51, he would be this close to a Group B car, let alone sitting on the driver's sill and making a video about them, I don't think he'd have believed you. I remember I'd finished college and it was November, the RAC rally in 1986, and they were going to overnight halt at Albert Dock in Liverpool. So I diverted on my way home, before going to the ferry, to Albert Dock to see the cars coming into servicing. I saw the Metro 6R4s, I saw the RS200s, I saw the Peugeot T205 T16s, and I remember a joy and a sadness at the same time that was the time that Group B was about to close its doors. The chapter was about to close. But what happened to those cars? This video is the story of those cars. Everyone knew that Group B was coming, but no one knew exactly where it was going. I mean, the manufacturers had this format that was going to launch in 1983, and the logical thing to do would be to develop what had worked before. It takes 2 or 3 years to develop a successful rally car and make it reliable and competitive. So whilst they all rushed to the drawing board as soon as Group B was announced, no one knew about the Quattro yet. It hadn't been launched. That came along, the road car was launched in 1980 at the Geneva Motor Show in March. A lot of these cars were already underway. Ford had won the World Constructors' Championship in 1979 with the last of the Mark II Escorts. They withdrew from rallying in order to concentrate on the RS 1700, which basically put a front-engined, rear-wheel drive platform underneath a Mark III Escort body shell. For marketing reasons, they wanted the latest Escort to be seen to be winning rallies. So they gave it a turbocharged 1.7 litre engine and started developing that to enter when Group B was launched. Peugeot went down a similar route. They put a V6 into a Peugeot 305, which looked sensational with swollen arches, but the test drivers were not very impressed. And as soon as the Quattro was launched in 1980, they just realised the game was up and went straight back to the drawing board, whereas Ford carried on for a while trying to make the RS 1700 work. The one car that really did come along and in its maiden year 1983 take it straight to the Quattro was this, the Lancia 037, the ultimate rally supercar. And if the Quattro hadn't happened, if four-wheel drive hadn't suddenly dominated world rallying, this would have been the car that all the others would have been struggling to keep up with. So first of all, thank you for letting us come along and have a look at the cars. Can you tell me a bit about the 037 and its background and how you came to find it?
It's a Safari spec, Vic Preston Jr.'s car. We bought it more than 25 years ago abroad. It came from the factory. It had just been overhauled at the factory actually. Came through a dealer. We'd already bought the other 037 in Africa, in Kenya, in bits, burnt, smashed to bits, just scrap really. They thought it was scrap, but it took me 3 years to get to buy that, and we've had to buy other parts for it that were shipped to different places. We had to buy them off other people to get the bits back for it. But yeah, we've had that one even longer, 30 years I spent. But they're both Safari, but I thought I've got one Safari car, so I'll turn that into a tarmac car.
So they rallied in the Safari.
Oh yeah.
Do you know anything about the competition history with them?
Yeah, but I don't. I don't bother with all that. I've got it all written down. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
We've used it, done lots of events with it. It's done the safari several times. It's won quite a few. It won the African Safari Championship when it was over there. They left it there with Vic Preston because they're a bit fragile, and they developed them better. They retubed some of the chassis a bit thicker and modified them over there to get them to get to the course, if you like. But yeah, I don't bother with all that and chassis numbers and all. People have asked me so many questions, and I just go, not interested. I know what it is.
Yeah.
We didn't buy it to sell it. We bought it to rally it.
Of course.
And that's what we've done.
You are using the cars properly, aren't you? So.
Yeah, we've done. We haven't used it for 18 months because of COVID, 2 years. The last time we used the car was 2019 because of COVID, and that was on Rally Legends. And that's when Marco Allen drove the car, and I sat in with him, luckily.
That must have been an experience.
Yeah, it was. It was, yeah, very nice.
Did he have any comments or?
Yeah, I've got it on video, but he just said it was a good car. Drove really well. He thought the steering was a little bit heavy. That's all he could say. He said it great gearbox, good engine, well, good power, but he thought the steering was a little bit heavy. But since then we've looked at it, and steering damper was playing up. But yeah, nice experience. Lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky to get in with him. But yeah, we've done various. I can't remember what we've done with it. Loads. It's been all over Europe. Done to Belgium, Italy, Spain. Oh, just lost track. I don't know. We've been to so many places. Yeah, lucky again, as I say. It's been to Goodwood a few times. Yeah. But like I say, I don't bother with the history.
Yeah.
And I haven't got time for that. I know that's what makes the value and all that. But if somebody wants to, it's a real car, and if somebody wants to trace it all.
Oh no, I understand completely.
I have got books and sheets and pictures and boxes of it, and I just think, oh God, I can't look at all that again. Well,
the thing is that you're using it properly. You're not keeping it in a, in a museum. It's actually doing what it's meant to do.
Yeah, they all do. We've used, most of them get used. It's only the COVID that's put us back. Other than that went out twice last year.
Yeah. Can I ask a question that would cross my mind? How do you choose which car to use?
Oh, I don't. Yeah,
that must be the hardest decision, isn't it?
Yeah, usually. Occasionally, certain events ask you to take a certain car. Right. Like when this went to Legends that time, it's been before. It was Martini's anniversary.
Right.
So, yeah, that's why that car went. But this car went to Martini's 100th birthday party in Lake Como. They flew us out and the car just to be at their party. That's how famous this car is. Yeah. And I said to them, why do you want to bring a car from England when you've got all these ones in Italy? And they just said, we want that car. And that. So yeah, it went to their 100th birthday party. Me and the wife and the car.
These are the memories you just can't.
Yeah, you can't buy that. So you can't go to Martini's 100th birthday party, can you?
Yeah.
We were there a week. They paid for everything, flights, hotel, a lot.
Yeah.
It's just bonus time.
The thing is, though, with these cars, it's more than a car.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, even the rogue ones, the ones with no history, it's more than a car. This is what I've been saying throughout on the video.
Oh yeah.
That any car that only had 200 produced is special.
Yeah.
When you've got each one has its own story.
Yeah.
And the owners have their own story.
Yeah.
That is more important than.
When we were at Goodwood the one year, a young lad, a young man, you know, came up and said he was taken to school in this car by Vic Preston's mechanic, because his dad was Vic Preston's mechanic. And he was like, and the next day he came to Goodwood with his dad to show him the car. And after we'd had a chat, they had their own Works rally jackets for Vic Preston's team. And he gave me his jacket and said, I want you to keep this to go with the car. And I was like gobsmacked.
Yeah,
you know, he saved it
that's
all.
Really personal for him.
Oh
and
yeah,
he gave it to you. So That's what these cars are to people, though.
Yeah, you know, when we bought this, my friends in Kenya who work over there and live there, they said, you know, they all call me Dad over there for some reason, because I'm old, I suppose. And the trip meter was missing, and the sump guard was missing off it. And I just said that. And when I went out to do the safari the next year, his name's Crispin Sassoon, he said to me, is this what the trip meter's like? And I said, yeah. He said, it's the one. We stole it when they put it in the shipping container. He said, you better have it back. So he gave it me, and I got the original one back in Kenya. And then, I don't know, 3 or 4 months after the safari rally, Custom and Excise sent me a thing saying I owed them a few quid for a parcel that was coming. So I paid it, and it was a sump card, and it just said love and kisses to Dad from Kenya on it and my address. Yeah, so yeah, I've been really lucky. And bits and pieces turn up. You know, there's still a few little bits over there.
See, that's the thing that I keep saying that makes these cars. It's the personal stories that are tied in with them, and it's not just the owners and the fans. It's everything. There's always somebody's got a connection, and they surprise you all the time. When
we did I can't remember what year it was, but we were doing the classic safari. We were on stage, and I stopped. My navigator, which was Crispin Sassoon, said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Hang on a minute." And there was an 037 wheel hanging on a piece of rope for a bell, and I bought it off the bloke and stuck it in the boot of my Escort and brought it back. Yeah. So yeah, there are some funny stories. Yeah. This has been so reliable, it's untrue. But the odd clutch, a few drive shafts, but other than that, it's had engine rebuilds, but it's never gone wrong, never let us down. It's been really, really good. We shipped this back to Italy, to Turin, to the Works mechanics who built the car, and they know the car. They built the car, the Baldi brothers, and they've serviced the engine and all the mechanics on it. We look after it in between, but major jobs, we've shipped it to them. Yeah.
Again, it's a personal thing, isn't it? Even for those guys, it's like the baby's come back.
They were at Goodwood to look at a Lancia for a customer, and they were all parked in a row, and they had all these immaculate, you know, Integrales and other 037s and stuff, and they worked their way along the row, and they obviously looked at this car for this guy to buy, and when they got to this one, they dropped on their knees and started kissing it and said, original, original. Yeah, so yeah, they know.
Yeah.
And they've been a joy, really helpful. That's the name of the game though, isn't it?
It's family, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's more than a car, it's family.
Yeah, yeah.
Car 49. First time we've seen this today, and it is absolutely gorgeous.
Robert Woodhouse, this is the Lancia 038, which is an 037. Meter is in the passenger seat.
Yvonne, it was the wife of Sheka Mehta who won lots of East African safari rallies.
And they competed in that car
In 1983, Stuart Turner became the director of motorsport for Ford. And the first thing on his books was to look at the RS 1700, which had been slowly slipping backwards and backwards and backwards. Development had been slow, and it was caused through the problems of creating a front-engine rear-wheel drive undercarriage to fit into a modified Mark III Escort shell. In 1979, the company had won the World Manufacturers' Championship at the last years of Group 4 using the Mark II Escort with its 1600 BDA. The 1700T used the development of that engine, bored out to 1700 with a turbo added and it was Cosworth's answer to bringing the car into Group B. Ford wanted to reflect the look of the Mark III, but front-wheel drive was not going to be competitive, so that hence the complete rework so that it would have a front-engine rear-wheel drive floor pan. It proved complicated, difficult to manufacture, difficult to develop, and it fell backwards. Meanwhile, you had the Renault 5 Turbo and the Lancia 037 that burst onto the scene, both mid-engined, both very quick, both very light. Already the 1700 was looking somewhat challenged in terms of the new Group B era. By the time 1982 came along and the Audi Quattro blitzed all before it, only the Lancia 037 was able to challenge in the last year of 1982 to become the last World Rally Championship winning two-wheel drive car. Audi had shown the way, four-wheel drive was needed, and Ford needed a rethink. The Quattro had definitely shown the way, but it wasn't the perfect rally car. All that weight hanging out over the front wheels of that engine were trying to pull the car straight on in the corners. Now, if you could put the weight of the engine in the middle, like the Lancia 037, and make it four-wheel drive, you'd have something like, well, the Peugeot 205 T16.
Peugeot 205 T16, Dave Edwards. 1985 car. Doesn't sound quite right. Valves up to the shape.
Like I say, it was Peugeot Talbot Sport Ireland's car, and Klaus, whatever his name is, bought it, and it was his toy. But he had all the upgrades. It was obviously a road car, and he had all the upgrades. And a friend of mine bought it off him, and he hadn't fitted all the upgrades, to be honest. And my friend and his mechanics upgraded it to Evo 2 spec because it was all there, and what wasn't there we went and bought all genuine original stuff, and we painted it all. But we do body work, and like I say, Gary Midwinter owned this, but he never got to use it because he passed away, and that's why I bought it off his wife. I've had it 10 years.
It's an amazing, I mean, this was probably the most successful of the Group B cars.
Yeah, I think so.
Over the time,
Yeah.
because it spanned right into the Delta era, and it was still competing with that, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've actually been in with Timo Solonen in this car. He's driven it with me in there. I've been very fortunate to go with different guys. Been in with Kankkunen. You lose track, don't you? We're getting old, but yeah, it's a great car. It's the one we've used the most in the last few years. It's been really reliable. Last year we did Rally Legends with it, and WRC Spain. They run the classics in between the modern rally, so they do the stages twice, we do them once, but the same route, same everything. But it did break a drive shaft on that, but that's nothing, is it? And it got a bit warm a couple of times, but it's been a really good car, but it's getting the parts. That's that's the problem.
Was it, I know the Metro had a steel shell with additional composite parts.
That's right.
and the 037 was basically composites on a space frame. What was the 205?
Well, it's a 205 's just a tub. The bit you sit in is steel
Yeah.
with a space frame back and front on an Evo 2. But on an Evo 1 it's what they call monocoque. It's different.
Unitary.
Yeah, but the 2's got a 6-speed gearbox and a 1's got a 5-speed gearbox. It's just, a little bit more horsepower. Obviously a bigger spoiler on the back. There are other upgrades, but there's not a big difference.
What? I know you're not exactly new to Group B, because you was telling me about being on the course car and Nissan.
83 we did, because they had several course cars on the RAC. You didn't do it all, but we did all around the Forest of Dean and that in 83 with the Nissan 240 RS. We were rallying them then. We've been rallying Group B since 83, and we're still rallying them. We just got a few more of them, that's all.
So for the uninitiated, because everybody dreams of what it's like to be in a Group B car, but you can't just jump in and drive it. There's more. They're quite a challenge, aren't they?
They're a handful. Yeah, I suppose if you do it enough, you get blasé about it, don't you? You don't. It doesn't. It's not the same as. But when we first, used to, they still frighten you. Don't get me wrong, but have you been around with them since 80s? That's a long time, isn't it? You forget.
But it must be a sort of culture shock to your system. When you can go from any rally car into a Group B car, it must be, the experience must be night and day. You can't really prepare for it, can you?
You just because you've done it all your life, and we've never stopped. There's never a year that we haven't rallied. So we've never been out of them. So you do. I'm not taken for granted, because you have some respect, because you get in all that quattro. You really have got to know what you're doing and treat it with respect. We don't go as fast as we used to go. I'm in my 70s and I know my limitations are not as, my reactions aren't as good. I know what to do when it goes wrong, hopefully. But it's still a great buzz. We haven't, that's what I get up in the morning for. Go and tinker with the cars. Look forward to going somewhere and being invited to somewhere or whatever. Yeah.
So how long have you owned the 205 now?
10 years.
So there must be a few personal memories that stand out with that.
No, not. We've just been really fortunate to be invited to lots of really great events, like, to go on the WRC in between the moderns, that's something else. The crowds and rally legends in Italy, San Marino, you can't imagine, there are thousands of people, not hundreds, thousands and thousands of people, and they all, that's the buzz. Just meeting the people, having a chat. It's great. You get a kick from driving it, don't get me wrong, but the amount of people that are watching and coming to talking to you, that's what it's all about. Don't know when we'll stop. We don't intend to. When they put us in a box, it'll be the good thing is, when you're not rallying, you're fixing them, you're working on them. There's always something, a clutch to put in or whatever, or send an engine away or whatever it is. But this is a great car. Very lucky.
Is there a favourite to drive?
Oh, I knew you'd say that. Everybody asked me that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah. I think they almost have their charms.
Yeah, they're all different. I don't know. We've driven so many, not just the ones in here. We've driven, RS200s of the lot, Dakar, Peugeots, everything. there's a time and a place for each car, I think.
That's well put. That sums it up beautifully, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know.
Peugeot had given Audi one hell of a headache. They had taken the four-wheel drive concept that Audi had dominated world rallying with, and they had made it nimble. The one thing the Quattro could never be accused of being was nimble. They needed an answer. Audi knew more than anybody else the limitations of their Quattro. Basically, you had a big heavy engine sticking out ahead of the front wheels trying to drag it straight on like a hammerhead. They needed something to compete with the nimble mid-engine cars that the other manufacturers are coming along with, and this was their answer, the Sport and the S1. It took several inches out of the middle of the car, and it chucked 500 brake horsepower plus into the mix. It was a complete monster, but boy did it sound good.
Oh, proper car.
Now the Quattro isn't, well, it's original parts.
Yeah, it's built years and years ago before everybody was building Quattros. I mean, I don't know exactly how long, 20 years ago, 18, 15, I don't know. But belonged to a friend of mine called Gary Midwinter. All I did just the paintwork on it, but he passed away, and we went and did, he used to go to Italy a lot, to Verona, do the big rally there, and I used to go with our other cars, and when he passed they asked us to take his Quattro and do the event with his Navigator, and they did a memorial rally for him in Italy, so that's really special. That was really, really special. They even flew his wife out and everything so they could watch.
Beautiful.
Yeah, gave her a nice surprise, but yeah, unfortunately he passed away quite young, and I bought it off his missus. Well, just do, don't you? He was my best mate, so.
Now, you were saying that this one's, how do you put it, exciting to drive.
It's a handful. It's, you know, if you're not got the steering pointed where you want to go when you put your foot down, whichever way your steering's pointing is the way you're going to be going when you put the foot down, and I mean it takes off.
I've heard that actually from other people, so
yeah, you know, you don't want to be doing a Ford Escort in it. Yeah, it's not one of them. You can drift it. It does, you know, it handles pretty well actually. But it's got all the, you know, the last of the mods on it and everything, all original.
It's the horsepower, isn't it, that makes it the challenge, isn't it? It's 500 or something like that.
Yeah. It's 500 plus. Yeah, you just, like I say, you do get blasé with it. You do get used to it, but you can get into a lot of trouble with it. We broke the gearbox once because I couldn't stop it downhill, and we had brake fade. We cooked the brakes, and it wasn't going to stop. And we actually, in Italy it was, and I just came down the gearbox several gears because I had to, and it broke the gearbox. But hey ho, it was better than smashing the car up.
Yeah.
So we had to have a special shaft remade in England. But you can get it all done. It's just how much. There's always something being made.
So again, it's like to the uninitiated. Everybody dreams of getting behind the wheel of a Group B car. This is the one you don't want to, just jump in as a.
My son drove it maybe 18 months ago for the first time, only on the road from work to here, and his words were, "How the hell do you drive that?" But this year in October he drove it at Goodwood on the 78 meeting, because we were in Spain doing with the 205. So he drove it. He did damage a little bit on the front, but he drove it really well. Yeah, he said, "Blimey now."
So he's going to carry on.
Oh yeah, he'll do it when I'm gone. He's got his own cars, not Group B. He's got a Group A, Mitsubishis and stuff. But yeah, well, he does. He's driven the Peugeot, he's driven this, he's driven the Lancia on events.
So it's a real family affair, if you like.
Yeah. It's in your blood, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, they are different beasts.
And you've done a few events with this one?
Yeah. Done Austria, Italy, Germany, a few single little bits of fun in England, but nothing, dramatic. You can never compete because they won't let you.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to be timed. You can do all the rally.
Yeah.
They just call it demonstration at speed.
Demonstration runs, yeah.
Demonstration at speed, they call it abroad. They want you to go as fast as you want to go, and they want you to go as, and that's why you get invited back, because you push. There are people who go and just go for the jolly and drive it like half pace, and then they don't go again, because the crowds want to see them, as long as you're sensible.
Yeah, you want to see it doing what it does.
Yeah. The only place we've had a little bit of problem with a couple of the rallies in Spain, the spectators start getting on the road again, like they used to, but they stopped it. They sorted it. Yeah, it was fine. But yeah, no, it's been. They all like the noise of the Quattro. They can hear it coming. The Peugeot's louder, but this has got its own distinctive noise.
It's the 5-cylinder thrum, isn't it? And the whistle from the turbo.
Yeah, they've all. And the Peugeot chucks flames out. When we've done the rallies in Germany on the Eiffel several times, they make us run at the back because it runs into the night, and it glows red hot in the back, and the flames at night, they just love it. Well, not that I love it, but I'd sooner run a bit earlier in the daylight. Yeah.
And what? You mentioned the reaction of the public at the events. What's the difference between, say, the British rally fans' reaction and some of the European? Because one of the other Group B owners told me that when he's gone to the likes of Spain, the reaction's been nothing short of fanatical for the Group B.
You got to be with the car or leave somebody with it, because they'll be in it, on it. They just. Crowds, it's just thousands. It's not, I think it's not that the fans in England won't or don't want to, it's just they've been so restricted to get near them. But in Spain and Italy, you're allowed to wander through the cars every now and, for a certain period each day, and they just come at you like a mob. It's like a big football match coming at you. And like I say, unbelievable amount of people, really nice, but you even get them asking you for your autograph, and you think, no, I ain't that famous, mate.
Hi, I'm Matt Hammond. We're here today with some of my Group B memorabilia.
So my first question to you is, how did this start for you?
Absolutely, it would have been something like World of Sport, early 80s. You'd see a Quattro, which was, looked like a spaceship in those days, didn't it? It was so modern compared to a Mark II Escort or Talbot Sunbeam, whatever. You could see a Quattro sideways and you knew immediately this was the start of something big. and people were drawn to it immediately, weren't they? You could see in Europe that as soon as the Quattro was out there on the stages, that people wanted to see that car, the noise and the spectacle. Amazing.
So that initiated your interest in the rallying, and then it grew from there.
Yeah, I always liked speed and motorbikes and cars and things, but getting drawn into the Quattros, I mean, obviously the early cars weren't necessarily Group B cars, they were the Group 4 cars, I believe they used to be known as. But as soon as you started seeing World of Sport, Dickie Davis, the cars going sideways and adding the music, and that's one thing they don't do nowadays, they don't really add the music and the background, they don't build it up as well. And I think that was just an era where we were looking for something to sort of move us forward, and it was a technological masterpiece, wasn't it, really? So, yeah, it was always going to be superseded, but the Quattro going down the stage with the lights and the trees and the noise, just absolutely, and the flames, flames were just wow. Back in the early 80s, I mean, obviously we started also having rallycross and stuff as well, where I lived in the southeast of England, but I was literally addicted. I mean, getting results and watching rallying was quite difficult in those days, so you'd have to wait till Autosport came out on a Thursday to find out how the guys had done in whatever rally around the world, because of teletext. Really you were reliant on really harsh. It was difficult to find out who'd done what, but I was completely addicted about the World Championship, and I guess it would be about 82, 83 when the Quattro really started to move forward. Michelle Mouton had started to win events as well, which for a lady was fantastic. So she was way ahead of the game, wasn't she? So the whole spectacle was just spectacular.
When did the collecting start?
Luckily enough, in the early 90s, Goodwood kind of started, and going to Goodwood to meet all of the drivers. I mean, literally every single one of them, whether it be Hannu or Stig or Michelle or Walter and the Quattros and then Ari and everyone else. So literally going to Goodwood meant that I could kind of meet my idols face to face and get them to sign. So I have an absolutely ginormous collection of moments that mean a lot to me, like this cover we discussed. It's the RAC 83 when Stig won in the UK Quattro. So he actually beat technically the works cars. Hannu was second place on that event. So Stig went to Goodwood from day one, really, and you can go and talk to your idol and talk to him about his cars. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. So I had many crazy conversations with world champions about things that I wanted to talk to them about specifically. And I mentioned before talking to Walter about Monte Carlo 84, his first ride for Quattro. How did he beat Stig, who was the known snow expert? Yes, Monte was Walter's event, but not in 2 foot snow. That was Stig's event, wasn't it? So I talked to them about how the team structured that, and obviously ultimately Stig was kind of not gifted the 84 World Championship, given the chance to win it, and he did enough events to get the championship, which was brilliant.
Each of these items is connected to a memory.
Absolutely. Talking, chatting to the drivers, and I've even been in a car with Jimmy, and when you prepare for a stage run, you're in the car for about an hour before you get to the start line, the flag drops, but I got to talk to Jimmy about all of his Group B days with the Metros and stuff like that, and about Colin, obviously, in that context, because there's so much to talk about. But sitting in a car with Jimmy McRae with intercoms on, talking about the history of Group B and everything else is just unbelievable. So those sort of things, occasionally a bit of luck would come along and you get in a car and have a run. Not actually to enter any rounds as such, championships or anything, but just to get down to, say, the Goodwood stage, which was epic. Really, really, really good.
Talk us through the signatures and give me a memory with each. So you'd be able to. So the first one was the RAC win. So talk us through some of the special memories, because this is what non-collectors don't get. Yeah. It's not just a signature, is it?
No. One of the big, if you put World of Sport on in 1984, Dickie Davis, Portugal, the sort of third round of the championship. It's so weird nowadays that we don't have this set, because in those days it was a set championship. You knew exactly where you were going to be in January or December, November, didn't you? You knew where you were going to be. So you put on the Portugal World Rally Championship, and Hannu in the Quattro with the HB colours, just absolutely killing it. Had a very tricky start to the event with the Lances sort of taking the advantage, and that means a lot to me. Talking to Hannu about that. Obviously we've lost Hannu now, so this is a big memory for me. And then I've travelled to Portugal to go surfing, but I also went to Sintra to see the stages, the early stages, the tarmac stages, which are just mind-boggling. So yeah, everything, and I don't just have one or two of these, I literally have possibly thousands of these kinds of memories and stuff like that. So Mickey Biazion came to Goodwood 2 years ago, and you know, S4 driver, there's no one better to stand there and talk about. I went to Goodwood earlier on in this year, and he was just walking across sort of one of the sort of garages, and no one recognised him. I'm like, Mickey, and it's sort of like you get a wave, and it's like, I know who you are, you know. So how many championships do he win? 3 or 4, I think, from memory, you know. So it obviously with the sort of Group A cars, but he got to drive the S4, and he was one of the first people at the scene of Toivonen's crash, you know. So can you talk to these drivers about these things? I don't know, but you know, it's history. It happened, you know, these things.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, there's a number of things there. So, and yeah, as I say, Jimmy, you know, 5 times British champion. What a bloke, you know.
Yeah.
And the most genuine rally driver that you'll ever meet. No problem with standing there 10 minutes talking to you about cars. Colin, probably not. Colin wasn't that friendly overall, you know, so he wasn't really in the Group B era, but I know he'd driven a 6R4, but Jimmy, absolutely the nicest bloke on the planet.
How would you, to people who are watching this video, how would you explain what Group B means to you?
I guess it's just, obviously many people will like motorsport, but it's the personalities, I think, of Group B that really came to the fore. I mean, Michelle Mouton being a lady driver, I mean, didn't she nearly win the World Championship that year? I think she might have lost the championship by a point or two in
82, yeah.
You know, crazy. You imagine that with Formula One now, that just isn't going to happen, is it, sort of thing. Look, the girls aren't really going to get the opportunities. I don't know why that is, but that's the world. But yeah, I mean, Walter, Henry, Hanu, Stig, Michelle, you know, I mean, I spent a lot of time talking to the Quattro drivers because they were a favourite of mine, but, you know, I've met Ewa and Bjorn Vordergaard and all those guys as well, Per Eklund, you know, I've got every single base covered in my mind. I sort of had magazines prepared for those meetings with those drivers. I mean, sometimes it could take 2 or 3 years to get the time to talk to them, but yeah, it was absolute. I had my mind set exactly what I needed to do, and I wanted to get to chat to them. So it's working out where they're going to be on certain days. And I was lucky at one of the Goodwood events early on, '93. Stig brought his RS200 to the event and did a track challenge at the Goodwood event, not at the house. So I heard on the tannoy that Stig was at the circuit. So I got back in my car and drove to the circuit, and there was Stig racing a Ferrari F40 in an RS200, and he won. How? You know, that car had a top speed of 110 miles an hour, I would imagine, where the F40 should have annihilated him, but watching him out on the circuit, he was driving at 110%. He had to be an F40. Amazing day. And I've got pictures, and even to today, I look at those pictures and think, how did that happen?
Yeah.
So, and historically, with the losses of Toivonen, Bettiger and stuff, you know, they affect you. Even, you know, I was a teenager, but, you know, losing Attilio Bettiger in 80.
I remember myself,
85?
yeah. It felt personal, didn't it?
Oh, it was as big as Senna.
Yeah.
You know, Senna was a big loss to me. Toivonen, you never got over it. It was like part of the family. You know,
yeah.
To lose Toivonen in
such a way as well.
And to be able to sort of like realise there is certain information that comes out later on in life, whether or not the old story about the nitrous in the roll bars and stuff like that, you know, was that partly true? But we do know that the fuel tank was under the seats. So that's scary.
Yeah.
You know? And it was, you know, seeing Stig, like I say, one of the models that I brought, I've got many, but that one is not the best Quattro, it's not the best Group B car, but it was a bitch of a Group B car, which I loved. And you see,
so that's the thing with Group B for me. It's not just the people that had personalities, the cars did.
Yeah, that car, the original short wheelbase Quattro, you could see it just didn't want to play ball with many of the drivers. And Stig, they admit they had to literally grab it by the horns, and everything was a battle. But it was an amazing thing to watch them sort of fighting the sort of 037 Lanciers, and then obviously later on the S4s and stuff like that. And the Peugeots was just an it wasn't a different league, to be fair, but it was a space frame car, wasn't it?
Of the Group B memorabilia, there has to be something which it's not necessarily the most valuable, but the most precious to you.
There's a lot of. I've been through many things in my life, and I threw myself into the Group B because when your personal life has things happening, you grab hold of things, don't you? And you sort of throw yourself in, like all sport. I mean, I do many other sports, but one thing particularly, I don't know. It would be an early Autosport with a Quattro on the front, and something like the Stig copy. That kind of, for me, I watched that event on the TV. I did go to the later events, the 86 event and the 85 event. I didn't get to go to the 83 event, but that was just like, wow, he's in a UK car. It's not even an out-and-out works car. But they started working, I heard the mechanics were helping Stig because he damaged it earlier on, as in the Victory. He took out the rear quarter, didn't he? So there was a lot of work to be done with that car. But Stig winning in 83 was a big thing. I loved the 84 event. It was like Ari Vatanen, basically showing that the Peugeot was going to be the car. We knew it early on anyway. He crashed it in Corsica the year before. He'd won a couple of other events leading up to the end of 84. So yeah, that kind of thing. That means, and
do you remember the moment you actually got that signed? And
yeah. I mean, literally, that would be a Goodwood moment. But I've been to many other events with him. But as you know, with something like the RAC or something like that, if you're tracking that, even in the sort of where they're working on the cars, it's not easy to get out of a driver. He's got 5 minutes to grab a cup of tea, clean his teeth, do whatever, and go off. And obviously, in them days, the events were crazy long, weren't they? They were 5-6 day events. Thousands of miles were driven. So it's difficult. Goodwood is a far more relaxed atmosphere, and you can literally go there. And everybody knows it now. They're all there. You know where to go and what to do. But you can capture a driver in sort of like walking to the Drivers' Club, and even people like Jörg Anken will give fans time. Not as much as some, but that's one of the biggest memories. And getting to talk to Stig about many parts of the championship season and stuff like that, amazing.